Welcome to Solosaurus, a podcast about one-player board and card games, and giant thunder lizards. Solosaurus is sponsored by Game Castle, where the games are great and the memories are even better. Visit them at shop.gamecastle.com, that's castle with a K, and enter Solosaurus10 for 10% off your order, or click the link in the description. And now, here's your host, stomping through the underbrush, Michael Eckenfels.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Solosaurus, number 95, in fact, and I'm going to start lumping all of my plays episodes into the normal episode count so that I'm not confusing myself or anybody else, because I'm thinking, all right, this is episode 95, but if I do a plays episode, it's going to be episode 3, the next one will be 96, and if I do a plays, it'll be number 4, and I'm going to confuse the heck out of myself. So let's just do it this way, where I have episode number whatever is next in line, and it'll be a plays or a review. And technically, I guess if I do more than one plays, it's a playing only, but the first one will be kind of a review, if that makes any sense. If it doesn't, continue to listen. I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I have a book here that I'm going to cover in this episode called What Lies Beneath, a solo dungeon crawler of dice, decisions, and death. Author-designer is Chris Scafidi. Chris, I hope I'm saying your name correctly there. And the illustrator is Jason Glover. It is a 203-page softcover paperback-like book that Chris sent to me for review purposes. So Chris, thank you for doing that. I am sorry again, it took so long to get to it. I've got a backlog like crazy, but I am getting to it, and I'm hoping to do more quick wins. I mean, this is a lot easier to cover than, say, Kings of Ruin, massive games, that take hours and hours and hours to really get into and get good thoughts on. This is a little different in that I have kind of read through the instructions a little bit, not through it completely, because it's very unique. It does a cool thing where it tells your story as it tells you the rules. So I thought this would be best to jump in without having much foresight, and then at the end I can give you some ideas of what I think, or I can just do that along the way. So it tells a story. It is an RPG in that it gives you statistics and a class at the beginning, and then you just go on your merry way, and it tells you how to play as you go, which is really nice. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this. What we're going to look at here, actually, let me just go ahead and read a little bit more here. On the back, you awaken in a crypt, your past a haze. Outwit magical adversaries, find a cure for a mysterious disease, rediscover your own identity, and defeat those who caused your unfortunate situation. Or die trying. Isn't that cheerful? It's a little bit dark, but that's okay because, it's a dungeon crawler. So what are you going to do, right? You're putting yourself into danger when you go into a dungeon. And I guess in this particular case, you don't know why you're in there. But we'll find out, hopefully, as I go through this game. So let's start with Encounter 1, very first page. You dream you are in a chapel. Small, high-pitched voices sing ancient song. You draw in the scent of stone and incense. Yet a sense of unease washes through you. The comforting smell is a veil. The core is more macabre. Dream yields to waking confusion. A grave. Dust, bones, and dried death. A flickering torch. Underground. A crypt. In the near darkness, you remember nothing, not even your name. You wait, listening for anything to provide answers. Nothing. The flesh of your arm aches. You touch it. Leathery. A rough tumor-like growth covers your forearm. The weak torchlight sparkles from its surface, as if from a wound. Yet it feels dry. The flesh around it throbs as if infiltrated by a stealthy, spreading infection. You catch a wisp of a breeze, heavy with the stench of rot. You gag. Yet a breeze suggests a way out. You take the torch, determined to get out of here alive. Now, this little book is actually, before I go too much further here, it is orderable on Amazon for $11.99 right now. You can also get the PNP on itch.io for $6 minimum, I believe. You can pay more if you want. But it is available through the link in the description to this podcast. The website is called Fervent Workshop, ferventworkshop.com. Go over there and check it out. You can actually download extras there if you want extra character sheets and such. So it's a very neat little character sheet, but for purposes of doing this, I just went ahead and created it in a Word document for me to be able to pass on how this works best. I can't really write. I got my screen in front of me and my keyboard and my dice tower and all the fun stuff here ready to go. So let us talk some more about how this game works after that nice little introduction. I'm going to skip reading the rules word for word. I'm not going to do that to you. I did talk to Chris before I did this recording, just FYI. It's all good for me reading it out loud. I always worry about doing that. I always want to make sure I get permission before doing it because I don't want to hit any copyright problems. He said it was perfectly fine, so here we go. All right, so for components, besides the book, of course, you will need some dice. You'll need, of course, something to write with and write on, which is the character sheet that you can download, or you can photocopy it out of the back of the book. But not worried about that. We're just going to move forward to the setup, which is interesting. I like this because there's a table with 6 classes listed on it. You roll 2 dice, and you have to get different results. You can't, in other words, roll 2 1s or 2 2s. You have to keep rolling until you have separate results. And that tells you which character you're going to be. So let's go ahead and roll this now and see what we're going to do. There's actually a bard, a berserker, a druid, a rogue, a warrior, and a wizard. All 6 of these have 4 different, what do we want to call it here? Perhaps statistics. I forget. I'm having a brain fart at the moment. I'm thinking, Dungeon Dragon, strength, intelligence, dexterity. This actually has values of hit, dex, wit, and vigor. So hit is what you use in combat tests. Dex is for dexterity tests. Wit is for intellectual tests, of course, and vigor is your health. If it ever becomes 0 or negative, you die. And then you also have XP, which is your experience points you get through the game, and there's also another one called ENC, which is an encounter. If you need to pause the game and restart it later, that's kind of a cool thing. You just write the encounter number that you're on, put the book away, come back to it, look at where you're at, and flip to that page, and you're ready to go. So that's kind of neat. But let's go ahead and roll and see what kind of character we can choose from here. I rolled 2 6s. That's awesome. So I'm going to roll one of the other 6s and a 1. Okay, so we have a bard or a wizard. I really like tank type characters, warrior type characters, and I guess technically there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing that. I think I'll be the bard just because a wizard has a hit of 1, a dex of 1, and a wit of 2, but a vigor of 11. The bard has a hit of 2, dex of 1, wit of 2, and a vigor of 8. So that's interesting to me. But a bard waking up in a dungeon, I don't know. I guess a bard to me would not be a good solo adventurer for just going off into some dungeon by yourself or some crypt. And of course, that's not how the story starts. You don't know who you are or how you got there or any of that. So that actually fits in pretty well as being a bard and being pretty useless by yourself. That's my opinion. Don't hurt me. I just don't like bard characters personally. But I'll choose a bard just because it seems like it would be the most challenging one. So I'm going to write down my stats. Hit 2, dex 1, wit 2, vigor 8. All right. XP is, of course, starting at nothing in encounter. We don't have anything for that. We have no items, and we have nothing else here to start with, I don't think. So let us continue to encounter number 2. You stumble out of the crypt and immediately trip on your weak legs, sending a few skulls clattering into the darkness as you fall prone to the ground. Suddenly, a rat hisses into your face. So here we go with our first our first test, rather. What it does is it gives you a couple or maybe more options. I'm not quite sure. I haven't gone that far yet. But when it gives you a list of options, you proceed through them in order. So you look at the first one. They're all optional. except that when you reach the very last one, you have to take that one. So you go to the first one. Do I want to do this? If not, you move to the next one and continue on until you get to the last one, and then you're stuck with that. So in this particular case, it's pretty simple. Attack the rat. Success gives you 1 XP, and failure means you lose 1 vigor. So this is a perfectly good trope for a adventure RPG and fighting rats. So let's get into the hit tests. With a hit of 2, that means I can roll 2 dice, which is just as good as a warrior. So I guess the bard's not that bad in this case. I roll 2 dice to see if I can hit the rat, and the target threshold for that is a 2. So I roll 2 dice, see if I can get a 2 or higher. It's equaling or exceeding that test value for hit. And I got a 6 and a 4, so bam, rat dead. He dared to hiss at me, and he suffered the consequences. So I'm giving myself 1 experience point. Woohoo! We got to start somewhere, and we're going to move on from there. Now, the interesting thing is these tests are not all the same. When you do a different type of test, you get to do different actions. So I'll get into that when we get there, and we'll move on to encounter number 3 now. You enter a tunnel of rough-hewn rock, alternating with bricks. Slippery goo drips down the walls. Your torchlight glistens from a bit of metal wedged into the rocks. Examining it, you see a key. So now we have a dex test. The dex test is interesting. It's a dexterity. It's an actual dexterity test. So you actually have to test your own dexterity, and mine is terrible. So I'm expecting fully to fail at this. So we'll see how this works. So what you do, good to start with, or good to have 3 d6s, at least so far. If I need to get more, I will. But right now I've got 3 in front of me. So you take 2 dice, 2 d6s. You stack one on top of another. And then the test value for dex is the number of inches away you place the other die. So in this case, the dex test is 4. If I want to try to retrieve the key, I don't see any harm in not, unless there's some kind of trap there I'm not seeing, but we'll give it a try. So I am separating this by 4 inches here. I've got a ruler just to be sure. And now what I need to do is flick the die, the single die, into the stack. My goal, though, is to strike the target with the flicked die without knocking the top die off the stack. Now, it's okay if it just brushes the target and moves forward. It's also okay if the top die moves. But what matters is whether the flicked die makes any contact with the target and whether the top die comes into contact with the table or not. So we want to avoid the top die falling. Want to make sure I touch it. So let's see how good I am at this. And I suck. I hit the die too hard and it knocked the first one over. You probably heard the clatter there. That's just awesome. All right, well, I failed. And I won't be able to get this beautiful little key, but that's all right, I guess. Hopefully it doesn't unlock a treasure room or something this early. Who knows? All right, so I have to continue now because I failed that, to follow the tunnel. As you creep through the tunnel, you observe a metal door built into the wall beside you. The door is half your height, about as tall as a wee folk, such as the goblins who live in the mountains or the gnomes in the forests of this magic world, Teg, T-E-G. A massive bar crosses the door, sealed with a padlock the size of your fist, or to a wee folk, the size of 2 fists. So, if I'm a druid or a wizard, I would notice that I have a crystalline tooth in my pocket, which gains me an item. And it says item WCF1. And you're thinking, well, what the heck is that? What does that mean? Well, there's an appendix in the back to tell you what it does, but you don't know what it is until you look at it. So you don't really look at it until you have it. I'm not going to look this up. I know what it is. I've already looked it up because I was kind of curious what that was, how that worked. But I like this function because it gives you an item or tells you here's an item. If you fail to get it, you don't even know what it is in the first place. So it actually adds a little bit of replayability to it so that you don't, next time you go through, maybe you'll actually get it and know what it is that time. So you got something new to discover. In this particular case, I'm not going to reveal what it is, but I'm not a druid or wizard anyway, so there's no point. So there we go. I have the first option, which is unlock the door. I don't have the item, which is the key that was in the previous encounter. So I have to proceed along the tunnel and continue, which kind of stinks. Now, the tag also serves a purpose in the game where you'll be on a page and it'll say, if you have item XYZ3, say, then you can do that option. And if you don't, then you can't. So that's kind of cool too. The cavern divides. 2 arches extend over the openings, each etched with barely visible runes, not written in the common tongue. The darkness beyond one or both openings echoes with the sound of rushing water and, unless your imagination lies to you, a soft buzz. So now I have 3 options. The first is a wit test at 4 to try to decipher the runes. Wit is a test whether you can put a specialized number of dice, a specified number of dice in sequence, also known as a run. So for example, a wit at 4 means it's asking me to roll 4 dice and manipulate them into a sequence such as 1, 2, 3, 4, or 2, 3, 4, 5, or 3, 4, 5, 6. And for another example, a wit at 3 test would mean I just need to do a run of 3, which is 4, 5, 6, or 1, 2, 3, and so on. So that's pretty simple enough. Roll the indicated number of dice. It's not based on my wit number, the number of dice I roll, but since I have a wit of 2, that gives me 2 actions. And the actions can be, I can re-roll a die 1 time. I can flip a die, in other words, flip it to its opposite side. Or I can increase 1 die by 1 value. So that's interesting. I thoroughly believe my chances of passing this are going to be awful. So that's the first option, do the wit test. I'm going to go ahead because, again, there's no consequences here really for it. So I got a 1, 2, 3, and a 5. That's not too bad, actually. I fully expected to get terrible results. So 1, 2, 3, and then 5. The problem is the 5, of course. Boy, that's not good. Well, actually, no, that's terrible. No, it is. Gosh bless it. I'm sitting here thinking I've got 2 actions I can take, and that means I can increase 1 die by 1, or flip a die over, or re-roll 1 die. So I'm probably going to bore you guys sitting here going, what can I do? I can do this, I can do that, I can do the other. I flip the 5 over, it'll be a 2. And then I guess I can increase that to a 3 and then increase the 3 to a 4, but that's 3 actions. I only have a wit of 2, so I can only do 2 things. I guess my only option really is to use one of my wit to reroll a die, and that would be the 6, or the 5 rather, sorry, the 5 that I did. So let's spend one of our actions to do that and brace ourselves for a 4. What are the chances? My gosh. Okay, well, I'll take it. So that's a run of 4 there. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be a success. So I go to encounter number 33 now. This is cool. I can't wait to see what happens. Hopefully I succeeded at something after failing twice. Yay. The runes are a mixture of 2 languages. Older, more eroded symbols are gnomish script with a rhyming chant to ward off danger. I gain 1 ward tag, so I am going to mark that on my sheet. There are tags on your character sheet of karma and ward. It's my understanding karma is a bad thing. I'm guessing ward is protective, so I guess I have an encounter in the future that's going to help me out. That is great. Scrawled beneath these is newer graffiti in Gobblish script with runes for water and down on the left-hand tunnel. The right-hand tunnel's runes indicate beast training and down. So now it gives me 2 options. The first, enter the left-hand tunnel labeled water and down, or the second one is enter the right-hand tunnel labeled beast training and down. And I realize that I'm probably not following the spirit of this, where I got to go to the first one and decide, and then if I don't, then I go to the second one, and I can't go, oh, I don't like the second one, let me do the first one. I know that's probably wrong, but I'm trying to read this through and describe to you how it works, so Chris, I apologize if I'm not playing this right. Or to anybody else. So I think beast training sounds pretty awful. I'm guessing there's going to be a monster in there, but then water indicates to me drowning too. So it's like, what do I do? I think I'll go with beast training. Actually, what the heck, right? Let's just jump in here and see what we can do. You step into the right-hand tunnel. Arcing, it becomes a spiraling ramp down with space to your right. As you proceed, the space widens into a vast gulf, revealing a massive chamber. The spiraling ramp hugs the wall of this chamber. You creep downward. The buzzing pauses. Torchlight moves along the floor of the chamber astonishingly far beneath you. You hear voices echoing below. Oh, great. An encounter, I'm guessing. So it gives me a wit at 3 first. So I'm going to try to play this as I should. Search for a dark area of the ramp and hide for a while. So it is a wit at 3 test. So I roll 3 dice. Let's see what we get. A 2, 6, and a 4. That's pretty awful. I can flip. Oh no. Well. Well, I can flip the... Oh, no, it's perfect, actually. I can flip the 6 over to a 1 and the 4 over to a 3. So there we go. 1, 2, 3. Boom. I got it. Awesome. That's cool. 2 wit, 2 actions. Perfect. All right, so success. You pause quietly for what seems like a very long time. Afraid to peer out where you might be seen, you hide yourself, but remain tense in case of a fight. Voices echo, then gradually fade. Continue. You are alone with the boxes. Go to episode 61. Okay, I thought I was on a long winding path with the bottom being far down, but I guess the boxes are down there. Well, anyway, let's see. Runes annotate the boxes stacked near the bottom of the ramp. On the opposite side of the large chamber, a small set of stairs leads to a single arch. But before you have more than a moment to rest, voices echo far above, with the sound of numerous feet shuffling down the ramp towards the chamber. So the first thing is wit 3. Quickly decipher the box's runes. Success or failure? Do I want to try to do that? Boy, I don't know. I've been really lucky here so far. I guess we'll try it again. Let's try it. What the heck, right? Might as well try to read what they say. That's a wit of 3, so that's a test of 3. That's a 1, 4, and a 6 again. Well, crud. That's not very good at all. That's terrible. I don't think I'm going to be able to fix this unless... yeah, that's not going to work. I can't flip... 6 becomes a 1. If I flip it over, the 4 becomes a 3. My only chance is to flip the 4 over to a 3 and then roll the 6 and hope I get a 2. So that's my 2 wit actions. And I got a 1. So that was a failure. Big fat failure. Yay. So let's go to encounter 52. You waste precious seconds in a futile attempt to understand the runes. It's useless. You're just not smart enough. That checks. Worse, a troop of footsteps approaches. No longer could you reach the arch before you're discovered. So hide behind the boxes. That's my first choice. Do I want to do that? Might as well. Let's try it. Again, I'm trying to play it in the spirit here without reading what the second one is and deciding, no, I don't like that. I'm going to go to the first one. So let's see what happens. You tuck yourself behind a big crate. The room fills with voices and red-capped wee folk carry boxes away. Most have left the room when a particularly large redcap starts to grab your crate and sees you. He shouts. A partner showers himself with sparkling dust and transforms into a large beast resembling a wolf. They leap at you. Defend yourself. Hit it 4. Okay. So if at least one of my rolled dice equals or exceeds the target threshold, that's something I didn't notice or mention earlier. I totally forgot about that. So I was just thinking a hit at 4 and I have a hit of 2 means I roll 2 dice. There's no way I'm going to be able to get 4 successes. So I got to roll 2 dice and get at least a 4 or higher on one of them. That's a 4 and a 1. So a 4 success. I like how it says frantically flail at your foes. Success is the next encounter, so let's look that up. With a battle cry, you launch yourself at the foes. They look up in surprise. You meet their flurry of buzzing and blade with your own swings and kicks. The bearded one tries to throwing a handful of black goo at your face, but you dodge, then tackle him and thrust your fist deep into his throat. The winged one leaps on your back, stinging. You punch it in the face, and it careens against the wall. It transforms into a small, gobblish being. The two lie still on the floor. From your foes' bodies, you retrieve a dagger. Lose 1 vigor from battle wounds. So that's interesting. Let me record that. My vigor is now a 7. I'm going to keep the 8 on the sheet just so that I know that's my maximum. I can never go higher than that. And then gain item WPN. So let me just write that down. And since it is mine, I will look it up now and see what it does. Since it's a dagger, I already know that, but let's see what kind of dagger, what it can do. Maybe it can add an extra die to my attacks, something cool like that. During a hit test, this item allows you to raise 1 die by 1. Remember, unless otherwise indicated, you only may have 1 of each tag or item. In particular, you only may have 1 WPN, 1 weapon. So if I roll a 3, I would succeed at a 4 hit test. So, okay, that's not bad. That's like a +1. I'll just add I'll remember that. Add a +1. Hopefully I'll remember that as you yell at the speakers as I screw this up and forget it later. Anyway, so let's continue. You also find a puzzling amulet. You turn it about, noticing that it glows redly when near to your tumor. You experiment with it, touching it to other things, such as your fallen foes' bodies. So now there's a Wit 3 test. Do you learn what the amulet does? Success, gain a certain item. So without reading the second option, I'm just going to go do the Wit test of 3. That is a 4, 5, 6. I'm doing pretty well with those Wit tests. I got to trust myself, I guess, and my die rolls, even though I thoroughly failed the last one. All right, so SJA item. Let's look up and see what that does. SJA is Shining Jewel Amulet of Clarity. This item enables you to see into the nature of certain other magical items. Okay. Do you learn what it is? Then you gain the item, and that's cool. Now, continue, take a look at the boxes, go to the next encounter. Runes annotate the boxes stacked near the bottom of the ramp. On the opposite side of the large chamber, a small set of stairs leads to a single arch. Oh, here we go again. But before you have time to rest, more voices. So I'm guessing I'm just kind of going back to the beginning again. So do I want to try to decipher the runes again? With the potential of having to get into another fight, am I going to go into an endless loop here? We'll see. Let me just go ahead and do the Wit again, because I really want to know what these boxes say. I got a 1, 2, and a 2, so I can use a Wit to raise the value of 1 die to 3. So there we go. Got my run. So cool. Success this time, finally. Encounter. Let's go to that encounter. The Gobblish runes reveal that the boxes contain red caps suitable for dyeing various colors. If you have any ward tags, gain 1 XP. So I do have the ward tag. That is a 1 XP value there, and going up to 2 XP. Woohoo! Continue. Hide behind the boxes. No, you know what? I want to try to go through that arch, because I think that's the only way out of here. So I'm going to avoid hiding behind the boxes. The next one is prepare for a fight. I've already done that. I don't want to do it again. Go to the last option, dash up the stairs and into the arch. So hopefully we're not going into the Arch of Death or something like that. Let's see what happens here. The arch opens to a sinuous tunnel. A grinding sound grows in the air, with some crushing mixed in. You arrive at a wall with 3 closed doors. The first door is the source of the grinding sound. The next has a red cap hanging outside. The third is a small double door. So the first option is item TMF. Don't have it, can't do that. Next option is Dex at 4. Open each door slightly to peek. That seems like my best bet, even though I kind of stunk at that last time I tried it. Let's try it again. Dex test at 4 means those 2 dice are 4 inches away. Let's see what I do. Oh, I did it. The top die shifted slightly, but I did touch it, and if that had gone any further, actually that would have fallen. So success at that dex test for once. I'm usually, again, terrible at this kind of thing. So let's go to that and see what happens. You discover that the first door leads to a massive machine for grinding bones, and then to a passage. The red-capped second door goes to a room with 20 beds for sleeping guards, and the third to a closet for storing weapons. Roll 1 die. If you roll less than or equal to your wit, gain 1 XP. I rolled a 2, which is equal to my wit. I just gained another XP. That's really nice. So 3 XP. So do I want to enter the machine room, the guards room, I want to go to the weapons. That was my first thought. As soon as it said weapons, closet, storage, I want to go in there. So first is machine room, no. Guard sleeping room, no. Enter weapons, storage, closet. Probably going to be a gigantic mistake, but let's do it anyway. Because opening the small double door reveals a closet containing a rack of swords, axes, and a shield. Gain items WPN and SHD. So I already have WPN. I guess that's just a generic term in the game for a weapon, not necessarily a dagger per se. So that's interesting. But also SJD, which I assume is a shield. So let's do notation here and then look it up to see what it does. Shield. This item reduces your harm from enemies. Specifically, each time the encounter states that a living creature causes you to lose 3 or more vigor, then you lose 1 fewer vigor. So, interesting. Okay, so it's 3 or more vigor. I lose 1 fewer. All right. Fair enough. Now, I'm going back to my choices. Do I go into the room with the grinding sound, or do I go into the room with the hanging cap? Don't think I want to go into a guard room, so I'm going to do the grinding sound, which sounds kind of horrendous to begin with, just for a room just to grind bones up. Makes you wonder where that supply is coming from. So let's just head over to 47 right now and see what happens. You open the door to reveal a small room almost entirely filled with a single machine. A crew of wee folk is processing corpses stacked in the corner. You gag as one worker slices bodies into pieces. A second worker stabs bits of organ, muscle, and brain on a stick, then drops them into a massive sluice where they slide along a chute. Meanwhile, a third loads the bones into the machine, which loudly grinds them into sparkling powder collected in a bag. Gain 1 XP. So we're going up to 4 XP now. Two workers notice you and exchange a comment. First option, item MDI. I don't have that, so I can't do it. Next is Dex 2. Jump past them, diving into the sluice. Sure, that doesn't sound disgusting at all. Let's try that. Dex at 2 is the same test, but it's only 2 inches away, so I should be able to do that without failing too badly. Here's hoping. There we go. Perfect. Got it. Okay. Jump past them, diving into the sluice. Success, go to 84. 84. You slide down the steep sluice filled with organs. Blood lubricates the chute, and you slip along to land in a deep pit filled with rotting meat. The fluid among the body parts is a watery, diluted black ooze. You feel it starting to seep into your body. Like quicksand, the mixture of organs and fluid restrains your movements, yet it threatens to drown you in a viscous pool. Your only hope is to swim across the pit to a drainage opening and wedge yourself through it. Attempt a Dex at 5 test. If you fail, you gain 1 karma tag and lose 1 vigor. Then repeat, gaining 1 karma and losing 1 vigor each time until you succeed. If you live, continue to do this marked encounter. So now I got to do this at 5 inches away. I don't know. I've been doing pretty well with it. Let's see. It's 5 inches. Oh gosh, that looks so far away. Let's go. Oh, I did it. And I hit the bottom one, and the top one nudged slightly over, and it touched the one I flicked. So it hasn't fallen. It touched it. All the rules apply. Let's Go to 15. Oh boy. Passing through the opening, you find yourself in a short tunnel. Ascending proves treacherous as a mysterious goo lines the floor. The tunnel rises for a while, then descends again into a cavern so large that darkness swallows the ceiling. More goo, reeking with an overpowering stench of minerals and rotten meat, inches down the walls into rough-hewn trenches along the floor. The same goo flows into a wide pool surrounded by steep but shallow sides. A glowing orb floats with lavender light atop the black ooze. The wall ahead has a gap, indicating an exit from the room. So if I have item SJA, which I do, again, that is the Shining Jewel Amulet of Clarity, I can investigate the orb. And, okay, so it said success. I'm thinking, there's a test. No, there's not. Just having the item is the test, I guess. So, all right, so let's do that. We're going to investigate it. Since I have the item, might as well. Aided by the amulet, you perceive the floating orb produces harmless lavender light by consuming the dark ooze that manifests the evil karma pervading these warrens. Gain 1 XP. Good deal. We're at 5 now. And now, Dex at 5 test. Try to grab this potentially helpful orb from the pool of goo. I'm of a mind to try it. I mean, I've kind of got the feel for this. Dex, and it's 5 inches again. Maybe I shouldn't. Nah, I'll do it. What the heck? I don't want to dither too much. Let's just get to it. Got it. Cool. Okay, so that's... I gotta stop thinking I'm invincible here. I'm gonna just keep succeeding at this, but we'll see. So successes go to this certain encounter, so let's go there. You kneel above the pool, gasping at the fetid vapors. As you lift the orb, ooze drips off the bottom, and the orb's light fades. Experimenting, you gently touch it to the pool surface, and the orb draws ooze upward. As the ooze vanishes upon the surface of the orb, the glow briefly reappears. Gain item OPL. I've recorded that on my sheet. Let's see what OPL says. Orb of Purifying Light. This item transforms bad karma into harmless light. At any time, you may spend 1 XP. If you do so, then remove 1 karma tag. That's useful. Ooh, that's good. I haven't got a karma yet, but that's perfect. Okay, cool. So exit the room now. Let's continue on with our adventure. As you leave the chamber, you slip in a gooey patch of the tunnel, staggering against the wall, and stumble right through as if it through a mirage. You find yourself in a chamber adorned with splendid objects. At the center of the room lays the skeleton of an alligator, sparkling slightly. Gems, swords, and gold coins shimmer in an enormous heap. As you approach the pile, the alligator skeleton suddenly begins to rise. It rasps and rattles. Sharp teeth and claws glisten with a yellow hue in the light reflected by the gold. You look back and find that the wall is thickly covered with goo. The only obvious exits are window-like openings beyond the skeleton. So I have a hit at 5 to fight the alligator skeleton. That is the first choice, and I'm gonna go for it because I've got the weapon, and that gives me a +1 to one of my die rolls. So technically, I need a 4 or higher to hit on either one of my dice. And that's a 5 and a 2, so 5 + 1 is 6. That is a big-time success. Let's see what happens. You strike the alligator skeleton repeatedly. Bones fly from its torso and skull. It swings its tail towards you, which you leap over to avoid. You land, planting your feet in position to kick its groin. The pelvis shatters as your kick connects, and the brittle cracking echoes through the room. When silence finally returns to the room, you pick through the treasures. You find a great deal of gold coins, which you're unlikely to spend in a crypt. In addition to a sword, you find a resplendent crown. Burnished metallic ornaments adorn the sides of the crown, each glowing with a blue light. When you touch it, your mind comes alive with imagination. Gain items BHG, WPN, and CJI. So I have WPN already. Let me record these other ones, and let's see what they do. BHG is big handful of gold. This item is some amount of gold-colored gold suitable to spend where golden gold is accepted. Okay, gold-colored gold is good gold, I suppose. That's awesome. And CJI is Crown of Judiciousness and Intellect. During a wit test, you may set a die to equal your current wit or less. This costs 1 action. For example, if your wit is 3, then you may spend 1 action to change any die to 3, 2, or 1. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, cool. So that will be useful. Hopefully I'll remember to do that moving forward. As more items I gain, the more I'm thinking I'm going to forget what this does, Anyway. All right, so now to the choices. Item SJA, which I have. Search the treasure using your magic. We have SJA, so we're going to do that. Might as well. Who's going to ignore a treasure hoard sitting in front of them? Certainly not I, being a bard, a sneaky bard. You paw through the pile, periodically touching your amulet to sense the presence of any magical treasures. For the most part, all you find is more gold, which is essentially heavy trash in your current circumstances. But you do find one item of interest. You find a mask resembling a hideous gargoyle. It's bundled in a robe adorned with runes indicating powerful magic. In the reflection of a mirror, also buried among the treasure, you see a blurry face similar to your own, but perhaps less haggard than you feel. The robe causes your body to appear healthier and blurrier. This outfit, it seems, creates an appearance approximating that of the viewer. Gain item MDI. Let's look up MDI. Mask of Durable Impersonation. This item, which includes a matching robe, causes each viewer in their natural form to see you as approximately resembling themselves. It does not affect viewers who are not in their natural form. Example, an old witch who is magically transformed into a young princess would see you as yourself, neither a witch nor a princess. When viewing yourself in a mirror, you appear blurry, a superposition of both transformed and not transformed. For if you are transformed, how can you see yourself as transformed? That's a good point. So let me make a note of this, and we'll see what happens. I guess I'm thinking, oh gosh, I hope I remember what this does. I hope I remember what this does. But then I guess suppose you're going through here and it says, do you have this item? You can do this choice. That helps a lot. It's just the ones with how you can impact your weapon, your wit, anything like that. That makes it a little more, got to remember that off the top of your head, or take good notes on your character sheet, of course. So I'm going to now proceed through the window-like exit. You exit into a corridor lined with chests. Their locks look small and easily smashed. Although some chests have runes in the shape of flasks or other items, many also have runes of warning. So I have item SJA, and it tells me only open the safe chests. Yes, I think I will do that. If I have SJA, I'm certainly going to do what it looks safe, so let's try that. You cautiously use your amulet to sense whether each chest contains dangerous magic and open only the 4 that seems safest. Unfortunately, one of the chests has a non-magical spring-powered dart that still injures you a bit. Nonetheless, you collect several items with relatively little harm. Lose 1 vigor, so we're going down to 6 now. But I gain items BAM and WPM. BAM is BAM, and I already have weapon WPN, so I can't gain that again, but let's see what BAM is. Boots of Accuracy and Mobility. These enchanted boots improve your ability to succeed at dex tests. When setting up the test, reduce the distance to the target by 1 inch, but at a minimum distance of 1 inch. So just a quick note for anybody who's not using the Imperial system like this does, they actually does have a notation here for making it metric. So 1 inch is 25 millimeters. If you prefer, use that in your mind or use that measurement, perfectly fine. That is nice. I am going to make a note of that, which is -1 to dex distance. Cool. Okay. Proceed down the corridor. The corridor continues to a massive door with a spring. As you push against it, you find that your arm with the tumor has grown weaker. The door opens to an enormous torchlit room, then closes and latches after you pass through. You see no obvious handle on this side. A glowing purple symbol in the shape of a jewel surrounded by a hand indicates where to press upon it for re-entry. You see a few similar doors lining the massive room. Lacking a jewel hand key thing, you have no immediate means of opening any of these doors. The room has many tables and benches, perhaps used for eating or to seat audiences for speeches. A single broad corridor leads out of the room, and you hear sounds and the smell of food in the distance. Laughter echoes into the enormous space, along with gobblish voices. A group is approaching. So if I have item MDI, which I do, I can prepare to greet whomever arrives. I like that. Let's do that. I've got the MDI, might as well try it, right? Let's play Disguise Ourselves. We're a bard, we're a performer after all. Let's see what we can do. Smiling, you walk into the passageway, turn the corner, and encounter a stream of red-capped wee folk carrying trays of food towards the room of tables. High above, you spy the moon through a window. Ahead, you see a kitchen where another weary-looking contingent of redcaps is loading plates with roasted meats and vegetables. Yet a third troop is leaving the area and heading to a distant hall. In all, you see nearly 100 wee folk speaking a mixture of gobblish and common tongues. Oh, beautiful. All right, so wit at 4. Eat a plate of food, emulate a redcap, and try not to draw attention to yourself. Success would be gaining 1 vigor from the food. That would be great. Failure would mean go to another counter, which I'm assuming would be bad. So let's try the wit test, but remember that I have a couple of things. Let me double check something here really quick. Okay, I just wanted to double check really quick to make sure I wasn't missing one of my wit test things. The only thing that I have that impacts that is the CJI, which is the Crown of Judiciousness and Intellect. So my wit is 2. That means I can set a die equal to my current wit or less, so 2 or 1. Let's see what we get. And it's a wit of 4, so I got to roll 4 of these. Oh boy. I rolled 1, 2, 3, 4. I swear I rolled 1, 2, 3, 4. It's right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't have to do any. Wow. Okay. I'm waiting for major failure, but that's awesome. All right. So, eat a plate of food, emulate a redcap, and try not to draw attention as you rest. So I gain 1 vigor. I'm going to erase that 6. I now have 7 vigor. And now, next is continue to exit via the distant hallway. The hallway leads directly to a door out of this horrid compound. Get out while you can! Go to this next encounter. Let's see if this is actually an exit or just a tease. You have exited what turns out to be an abandoned monastery. The morning star gleams green, low in the east and ready to welcome the imminent dawn. Gain tag MESC and 1 XP. And I gain 1 XP, which gives me 6 total experience. You've escaped the redcap lair. If you have at least 6 XP or 6 vigor, which I do thankfully, you may photocopy or photograph your character sheet to serve as a checkpoint. Hereafter, if you die, you may either lose everything you gained, including XP, revert to a photocopied character and restart at E101, or as usual, lose everything except XP, create a new character, spend XP to boost that character, and restart at E2. Now, one thing I didn't look at was what to do with experience points. since I haven't seen anything that tells me what to do with that yet, and I don't see anything in the rules unless I'm totally missing something, which I don't think I am because I'm not seeing it, I'll assume that that is something that will be revealed later. So for like this is a checkpoint saying if I have at least 6 XP or 6 vigor, I have both, fortunately, but so I can actually consider this a checkpoint, sort of a save point, I guess, and continue the game. I'm going to end it here for right now for this particular episode, though I think I will go ahead and continue this later because this is interesting to me. That I first I was thinking, oh, I won. I'm out of the dungeon. What the heck? There's so much more content here, and it will take another probably 2 or 3 episodes to get through if I don't die a gruesome death. But if you guys want to listen to more of this, I can. But let me talk a little bit about this. So, having grown up in the 80s, I did a lot of choose your own adventure type books. There were very few that actually made some kind of effort to make it more than just a page turner. So, here's the start of the adventure, and here's what you are, and here's your situation, and here's your choices. What are you going to do? Go to this page, go to that page. This is what happens to continue your adventure. It doesn't give you statistics. It doesn't give you equipment. If you have this item, you can do this, that kind of a thing. There are some that do that, of course, now, but back in the day, they did not. And I'm thinking too of the old D&D books as well. Gosh, wish I could think of some of the names offhand. I'll look some of these up and I'll put them in the description for this episode, so maybe you can check out and see what I'm talking about. But those are just basically choose your own adventure books with Dungeons and Dragons wrappers. That's all. It's still cool, but it's totally not a game in the sense like this is, where you're rolling dice to try to hit a target, or flicking dice to try to hit a target, or trying to get a run of dice. That's really nice. I like that it's not just here's a value, roll a die. If you get higher, or that die or higher, or that result or higher, I can talk, then you win, and continue. Or if not, you do this for failure, which I did a couple of times. I had more successes than failures, which I think made this a lot easier. Of course, that could have gone any way. The dex tests especially were harrowing. I'm really surprised I succeeded as often as I did. I totally blew it the first time, but once I had the feel for it, it seemed to be okay. But that doesn't mean I still wouldn't screw it up at some point. Of course, the wit tests are good. I love the idea of doing a range, 1, 2, 3, 4 for a wit of 4, or 2, 3, 4, 5, and being able to use your wit value to take actions to change those values. That's really cool that you can manipulate it. So while there's a lot of luck element in it, in that you're rolling a die, you have the ability to change things in the wit. You have the ability to manipulate your hit value if you have a weapon, and so on. There's ways in the game the environment can help you and also hinder you, obviously. It's cool that this is such a deep story also. I love that I've gone through this for almost an hour here, not counting pauses, which you're not going to hear because I'm going to edit all those out. That I can go through it and play it in for so long and still have a ways to go. That's really nice. I like that. What doesn't work? That's a really good question. I guess if you don't like these kind of games, you're probably not going to get any mileage out of it. I have, of course, added some sound effects to this and made it a little more of a listening enjoyment, hopefully for you. For your experience, it'll be totally different. It'll be just your imagination, of course, and play any kind of dungeon crawling music you would like while you read this book and have your dice out while you're trying it out. That's another thing about it that's cool. It doesn't take up a lot of space. I mean, I'm just using like barely a 12 by 12 area here on my desk. I've got my microphone, I've got my mouse pad, and I've got the book, and I've got my dice tower, and I've got just plenty of room to play this. So I wouldn't recommend playing this like on an airplane, say, because you put your tray down, and if you just set the dice up like that and try to flick the dice, of course, my luck would be that die would disappear 6 rows back, or something else weird would happen, and I'd never see the die again. It'd be best if you had like some kind of die tray. One of the collapsible ones would be great. They're hexagonals and they have snaps on the sides, so you can put them together. That might work. If you have some way of keeping the die from traveling away from you, that would probably work. This would be great for travel, for a hotel, for a friend's house, a family house, whatever. It doesn't take up a lot of room. I mean, between the book and the 4 dice and my dice tower, I could slip this into a small small space on a bag or a travel bag. So that's great too. Sorry, I'm all over the place with my thoughts. I just thought, oh, that's a good point to make. The book not being big, but being relatively thick for a paperback and easy to read gives it a great advantage in that regard as well. So I had fun with this. This is a good game. I'm really curious to continue trying. I find it interesting and intriguing that I got to that point. You exit the monastery, but your adventure's not over. You still have more to do. And I like that a lot. The continue point on this particular entry says it's not over yet. You need to cure your tumor. Go to the next event. And I was reminded of that. It says that at the beginning. You got that leathery thing on your growth on your arm that you need to try to fix. Not only just escape, but you need to try to heal yourself. So I'm excited to see what this is going to bring next. This is a good indication of what the story will bring. So, What Lies Beneath, author-designer Chris Scafidi and illustrator Jason Glover. This is from Fervent Workshop. That's Fervent Workshop. Go check that out online. It's very inexpensive, $12 on Amazon. If you want the physical copy, you can get the PDF online for just $6 or more. If you want to donate more to them, I believe it'll give you that option. Again, Chris sent this to me for purposes of review, so great game. I like it a lot, and I'm going to continue this in another episode in the future. I do want to divert from this and say I've got plenty of other games I need to review at this time. I'm sorry to everybody out there that sent me stuff and I haven't covered yet. I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Shoes Tactics, Halls of Hagra, Legacy of You, Mr. Torg's Arena of Badassery, which is a game that I got from Meeples and Beyond, which is a great little store in the Phoenix area. If you're in that area, you can go check them out. They're up off of I-17 north of the 101 loop. I highly recommend them. Very friendly, and they're very successful too. They actually increased in size and moved to a larger space in the same shopping center. So that's always a good thing for a board game store to do. And it seems they're always packed with people whenever they have events. So that's great. Mr. Torg's came to me from them last October, and it's 6 months later, and I still haven't had a chance to review it, but it is on my table, so I'm working on that now, and I think it's even more awesome because of the Borderlands movie coming out in a few months. So Borderlands is one of my favorite first-person shooter games. I'm not a big FPS type of person, but that's a lot of fun, and I love what I'm seeing in this game, so be prepared for that. I have other games, too, that I need to review. Breakaway Football is another one. If you're a football fan, a sports fan, this is a really good game that is going to be which is soloable. There's actually a solo aspect to it, which is very unusual and very difficult to pull off. I've played it and I enjoyed what I've done so far, but I'll give you much more thoughts when I finally get to review that. Other things in the works as well. I wish I could go on and on and on about it, and I don't want to keep you too long. This has been episode number 95 of the Solosaurus podcast. Solosaur podcast, sure. Let's rename it here. And I want to thank you for listening. Tell me if there's other games out there you're interested in me covering. I recently, like I said in the last episode, culled my collection, but I still have close to 300 freaking games, so I have plenty of content that I could use to move forward once I get this current list done. I mean, I have ISS Vanguard I can get into. I have Fall of Avalon. I have Secrets of the Lost Station. I have Stars of Icarius. I've got these huge adventure games. And I have a couple of other Kickstarters coming. Let's see. Escape from New York is a big one I'm looking forward to. Escape the Dark Quarter. No, wait. The Dark Quarter is what it's called. I was thinking of Escape the Dark Sector. I don't know why I just channeled that suddenly, which is a game that I have as well. Plenty of potential. I appreciate you guys listening. Also, you want to visit the Game Castle, our sponsor, please do go over to the link in the description. You will get a 10% discount if you use Solosaurus 10 at checkout. Go give it a try, see what you think, see what you can find there. That's a nice game chain store of 10 brick and mortar stores, I believe. I might lose count. They might open new ones or in the meantime, since we've made this arrangement, but give them a try, give them a check out and see what you think. And if you want to buy something, use that code to save yourself a little money. So again, thank you for listening. Appreciate you. And you want to hit me up on solosauruspodcast@gmail.com, please do, or visit us on the Facebook page for Solosaurus. Again, my name is Michael. I'm your host, and I appreciate you listening. Thanks, and look forward to talking to you in the next episode.